Criticism in the League of Legends community is handled absolutely terribly. Over the past few months, we've had a number of big controversies pop up where we've exposed shady dealings related to League, from What the Fast and their poor business practices, to YouTubers manipulating votes on Reddit, to Gravity asking fans to design a new logo for free. Hell, even just CLG losing playoffs again seems to be a big deal. When one of these topics seems to come up, though, they always seem to turn very ugly very quickly, and then often just fizzle out without anyone getting any sort of closure, no apologies being issued, or acceptance of blame of any of the parties involved, which typically leaves a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Assigning one singular cause to every hot button issue in the community is honestly a pretty stupid thing to do, but today I'm going to be a little bit stupid and say one of the biggest reasons that I think all these controversies are spiraling out of control so fast is that nobody in League of Legends handles criticism well. Criticism is a hard thing for anyone to take at times. We've all experienced it in solo queue, but sometimes for a lot of personalities in League, criticism isn't just a hard thing emotionally to have to deal with, having thousands of people tell you that you suck, but sometimes it's logically best to block out outside opinions, and because of that, a lot of major figureheads out there naturally teach themselves to block out criticism for better or worse. What am I talking about? Let's give a few examples. YouTubers. YouTubers have a very good reason to block out criticism. When you hear thousands of voices telling you on a daily basis, your videos are awesome, your videos are terrible, your voice is weird, it's hard to listen to all of them and take all comments to heart. You'd go insane if you actually thought of trying to do so. So the answer here for most people ends up being go ahead and block out hateful comments. We can't change our looks, we can't change our voice, and we honestly shouldn't change our videos based off of one negative comment in a sea of thousands. So it's typically best for us to block out negative feedback and just keep on making the videos we've been making, judging ourselves on if we're doing anything wrong. The same kind of issue probably extends to journalism and a lot of the writers out there in the League community. When you look at Richard Lewis or Thorin, people who have very strong opinions that not everyone's going to like all the time, then of course they're going to get a lot of hate, but these guys make great content, meaningful content, and they know it, so it's probably quite easy for them to block out negative criticism as just a few more people that don't like one of their controversial opinions, especially when you do have so many people that just don't like them for their controversial opinions. So when you have the community lash out at one of these figureheads saying this person is terrible, they've said something wrong, they've done something awful, it's easy for a lot of these creators to just lump those comments in with a lot of the other hate that they get on a daily basis. One of the issues with this, though, is when something controversial happens, like let's say Black Enola and Richard Lewis start fighting on Twitter over one of Richard Lewis's articles, then you have an issue. Two personalities who've been taught to block out criticism are now criticizing each other non-stop. Things can get really ugly really quickly because of it and are unlikely to meet any sort of good conclusion or meaningful resolution. Neither party will take the other's comments to heart, and no acceptance of blame will ever come, regardless if one of them ended up having a point or not. The same thing can actually extend to the professional scene in League esports. I'm not a pro myself, and I don't know the inner workings of that world as well as a lot of people do, but from what I've experienced, what I've seen, and what I've heard from those that I've talked to, they have the same issue. These guys are the best players in the world. They're good enough to play this game for a living. They stream daily. These guys are amazing and they know it. So when you have the community pop up saying X player sucks, they did this, they should be benched, replaced, or whatever, whether the community's complaints are valid or not, none of their criticism will be taken to heart. Why should the pros listen to the community when they're insanely better at the game than the rest of us, for one thing, but pro players and organizations will also just think everyone else doesn't know what they're talking about. They don't see things from our perspective. They don't know the motivations behind our decisions. There's a ton of behind the scenes things going on that we deal with that they don't even realize are factors in our decisions. Why should we take their opinions to heart? So many people out there from solo queue to the pros learn to brush off all criticism because of this. It's not like we give it all that well. A lot of our hate can't even be classified as criticism. But the real issue, though, pops up when some issue comes up and criticism is thrown out in the community and it happens to be right. What if someone really does do something morally wrong? What if a team really does make a bad decision? Or if a journalist says something that's not just controversial, but incorrect or way out of line? The sad thing is, regardless if a piece of criticism has a grain of truth to it or not, it's going to be disregarded the same way every other negative comment is. How are some of the community's figureheads supposed to tell the difference between a comment saying, you did something wrong, you made a bad decision, you said something incorrect, from people who just say, fuck you all the time, especially when comments are worded much more towards the latter? In the end, regardless of what you attribute all this to, I do think it's a problem that people should probably, at the very least, take the time to acknowledge and hopefully work on. I don't have some sort of be-all end-all solution to all this, but before I go and end this video, I do want to point out one example of a streamer who's handled criticism a lot better than the rest of us. Do you guys remember when Nightblue got 1v1'd by a Skarner as Pantheon on his stream, and after he died, he just kept on saying, did that Skarner really 1v1 me, over and over, till people started calling him whiny all over Reddit? Everyone was saying his stream was going downhill, all he does is complain, this and that, blah blah blah. But after people made all these posts saying that he's losing quality in his stream, he immediately made a post saying, how do I improve my stream? How do I fix this? Got a whole lot of feedback, and then used it to improve his attitude. And that was the end of it. People had a problem with his stream, they complained, he listened, and took advice. It's ridiculously difficult for a lot of us to distinguish actual criticism from just negative people being negative, but I want to hopefully start doing my part to be a better example to others and bring a little more attention to this problem. This isn't something that's immediately fixable and not a problem a lot of people recognize or agree with me with, but I think it is an issue that needs to be addressed, and I hope I've been able to explain the perspective from this side of content creation that you don't normally see. Whether you agree with me though or not, I want to thank you all very much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video all the way through and listen to all my opinions, and of course, good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day.